My daughter-in-law forgot to mute the baby monitor. I heard her say, "He will be dead before Christmas anyway. We just need the deed." I did not say a word. 2 weeks later, she came home from a spa weekend to find the locks changed, her belongings on the curb, and a police officer waiting with a warrant. But I am getting ahead of myself. My name is Dwight Kavanaugh. I am 68 years old. I live outside of Asheville, North Carolina, in a farmhouse that has been in my family since my grandfather poured the foundation in 1952. People around here know me as the quiet widower who raises bees and fixes old motorcycles. They see a man with reading glasses and a bad knee, and they assume I am harmless. They are half right. I am quiet. But I spent 35 years as a fraud investigator for the Department of Defense. I audited military contractors who billed the government $200 for a box of screws. I dismantled shell companies in 12 countries. I know how to follow money the way a bloodhound follows a scent. My daughter-in-law, Kendra, and my son, Russ, forgot about that part of my resume. They saw the beekeeper. They never saw the investigator, and that miscalculation cost them everything. My wife, Iris, passed 4 years ago, pancreatic cancer. She went fast, the way she did everything. No fuss, no complaints, just a squeeze of my hand and then silence. After she died, the house felt enormous, 5 bedrooms for 1 man and a dog. So when Russ called and said he and Kendra were struggling with rent in Charlotte, I told them to move in. They had my grandson, Jasper, who was 7 at the time. Jasper was the reason I said yes. That boy had Iris's eyes and her laugh, and every time he ran across the yard chasing fireflies, I felt like she was still here. The first year was fine. Kendra cooked dinners. Russ helped me with the property. We were a family. But somewhere around month 14, things shifted. Kendra started making comments about the house. She would say things like, "This kitchen is so dated. When we redo it, I want quartz countertops. When we redo it, not if, not someday, when." As if the deed already had her name on it. Russ stopped helping with the yard. He started spending weekends at a sports bar in town, coming home smelling like bourbon and regret. He gained 30 pounds. He lost 2 jobs. Kendra picked up the slack by picking up my credit card. I noticed the charges slowly. 100 here, 200 there. I am old, not blind, but I let it slide because I did not want to believe my own son was part of it. I told myself Kendra was just careless. I told myself Russ did not know. I was lying to myself and I knew it, but sometimes the lie is easier than the surgery. Then came the baby monitor. Jasper was 9 by then. He still had a monitor in his room because he used to sleepwalk, and I kept the receiver on my nightstand so I could catch him if he wandered. One Thursday evening, I was lying in bed reading a paperback when the monitor crackled. Kendra and Russ were in Jasper's room, tucking him in. I heard Jasper ask if Grandpa was going to live with them forever. There was a pause. Then Kendra laughed. "Honey, Grandpa is old. Old people go to special places where nurses take care of them. Grandpa will go there soon, and then this whole big house will be ours." My stomach dropped. I sat up and pressed the monitor closer to my ear. Russ said, "Keep your voice down, Ken. He cannot hear us. He takes that sleeping pill at 8. He is out cold. What about the deed?" "Mom's name is still on it. Mom is dead, Russ. Your dad just needs to sign the transfer." I already talked to that guy at the title company. He said if Dwight signs a quitclaim deed, we own the house free and clear. We can refinance, pull out $300,000 equity, and pay off the credit cards. And Dad, there is a place in Morganton, Shady Oaks. Medicaid covers it. He will have a roommate and a TV. He will be fine. He will not go willingly. Then we get him declared incompetent. Dr. Faulkner owes me a favor, 1 evaluation, 1 signature, and your father is a ward of the state. I set the monitor down on the nightstand. I placed it gently, the way you set down a loaded gun. My hands were steady. My heartbeat was 62. I counted it. I pressed 2 fingers to my wrist and counted the beats for 30 seconds, then doubled it. 62. That is the heart rate of a man who is not panicking. That is the heart rate of a man who has just received intelligence and is processing it. I did not sleep that night. I sat in the dark and I thought about Iris. I thought about the promise I made her in the hospice room. Take care of the house, take care of Jasper. She did not say take care of Russ. Even then she knew. The next morning I made pancakes for Jasper. He sat at the table with syrup on his chin, telling me about a book he was reading about volcanoes. Kendra walked in wearing yoga pants and a smile that could sell you a timeshare you did not want. "Good morning, Dad," she sang. She kissed my cheek. Her lips were cold. "Russ and I were talking. We think it might be nice to add you to our health insurance plan. We just need you to sign a few forms." I looked at her over my coffee. I saw the girl who had charmed my son at a barbecue 6 years ago. I saw the woman who had cried at Iris's funeral. I searched for that person. She was not there. The woman standing in my kitchen was wearing a mask, and behind it was a calculator. "Sure, sweetheart," I said. "Just leave them on the counter. My eyes are not good in the morning." She put the papers down and walked out. I waited until I heard the shower running upstairs. Then I picked up the papers. It was not a health insurance form. It was a quitclaim deed transferring sole ownership of my property to Russell and Kendra Kavanaugh. Predated, pre-notarized with a stamp I did not recognize. Forgery. I put the papers back exactly where she left them. I finished my coffee. I washed my mug. Then I went to the garage, closed the door, and called the only lawyer I trust. His name is Morris Shapiro. He is 74 years old and meaner than a rattlesnake with a toothache. We served together on a fraud task force in the 90s. He once made a defense attorney cry during a deposition. He answered on the second ring. "Dwight, it is 6 in the morning. I know what time it is, Morris. I need your help. Who is trying to screw you?" "My son and his wife." There was a pause. Then Morris said, "I will clear my morning. Be at my office by 9. Bring everything." I drove to Asheville. Morris's office was above a bookstore on a side street. It smelled like old leather and black coffee. I sat across from him and told him everything. The baby monitor, the quitclaim deed, the credit card charges, the plan to have me declared incompetent. Morris listened without moving. When I finished, he took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "How much is the property worth?" he asked. "The house and the 12 acres. Maybe 800,000 in this market. Could be more with the view, and they want to refinance and pocket 300,000. That is the plan." Morris opened his desk drawer and took out a yellow legal pad. He wrote 3 words at the top: trust, deed, evidence. "Here is what we are going to do," he said. "We are going to move the property into an irrevocable trust for Jasper. You will be the trustee. The trust will be managed by my firm. Once the asset is in the trust, it cannot be sold, refinanced, or seized. It is untouchable." "What about Russ?" "Russ gets nothing. He is complicit in fraud and elder abuse. If he wants to challenge the trust, he can do it in court, and I will bury him." "And Kendra?" Morris smiled. It was not a warm smile. "Kendra is going to find out what happens when you try to con a man who spent 3 decades catching cons. We spent the next 4 hours building the case." Morris filed the trust documents with the county. He contacted the credit bureau and flagged my accounts for fraud. He pulled the transaction history on my credit card and found $47,000 in unauthorized charges over 18 months. Furniture, handbags, a lease on a BMW that Kendra told me was a company car. He also found something I had not expected. Russ had taken out a second mortgage on a condo in Charlotte that he claimed to own. The collateral he listed was my farmhouse. He had forged my signature on the application. That is not just fraud. That is a federal offense. Morris called a contact at the county sheriff's office. He filed a report. He requested a forensic analysis of the forged documents. He moved with the efficiency of a man who had done this 1,000 times. By noon, my house was no longer my house. It belonged to the Jasper Kavanaugh Irrevocable Trust. My name was off the deed. Russ and Kendra's names were never on it. The quitclaim deed they had prepared was now worthless. You cannot transfer property you do not own. I drove home. The autumn leaves were falling, and the Blue Ridge Mountains were lit up in gold and crimson. It was the kind of day Iris would have made me pull over to take a photograph. I did not stop. I had work to do. When I got home, Kendra was in the kitchen arranging flowers. She looked up and smiled. "You were gone a long time, Dad. Everything okay?" "Just errands," I said. "You know how it is, old man stuff." It was a performative laugh, the kind you hear at open houses. "Well, dinner is at 6. I am making your favorite pot roast. Sounds wonderful. I went upstairs. I locked my bedroom door. I opened my laptop and began documenting everything. I downloaded the credit card statements. I screenshotted the forged mortgage application that Morris had obtained through a public records request. I saved copies of the baby monitor audio. I had started recording it 3 months ago when I first noticed Kendra's late-night phone calls. I had hours of conversations. Kendra talking to her sister about the old man's money. Russ complaining that I was taking too long to decline. Kendra researching nursing homes and asking about Medicaid asset limits. I organized the files into folders. I backed them up to an encrypted cloud drive. I printed hard copies and mailed them to Morris in a FedEx envelope. Old habit, digital files can be deleted, paper survives. That evening we ate pot roast. Jasper talked about his school play. Kendra poured wine. Russ avoided my eyes. Not anger, not sadness, just the cold clarity of a man who has found the discrepancy in the ledger and knows exactly which column does not add up. After dinner, Kendra brought me my evening pills. She had been doing this for a year, ever since my doctor put me on blood pressure medication. She handed me a small paper cup with 2 tablets and a glass of water. Here you go, Dad, doctor's orders. I looked at the pills. My blood pressure medication was round and white with the imprint M32. These pills were oblong and pale yellow. I had never seen them before. Did the pharmacy switch brands? I asked casually. Oh yes, Kendra said quickly. They called and said there was a manufacturer change. Same formula, just different shape. I put the pills in my mouth. I drank the water. I swallowed theatrically. Thank you, sweetheart. She watched me swallow. She waited an extra beat, studying my face. Then she took the glass and walked out. The moment she closed the door, I spit the pills into my hand. I had held them under my tongue. I went to my desk and pulled out a magnifying glass. The imprint on the pills read Z10. I searched the code on my phone. Zolpidem, Ambien, a powerful sedative. Not my blood pressure medication. Not even close. They were drugging me. They wanted me sedated and compliant. They wanted a zombie who would sign whatever they put in front of him. I wrapped the pills in a tissue and sealed them in a plastic bag. I labeled it with the date and time. Evidence. I did not confront them. Confrontation is what amateurs do. Professionals collect, document, and wait. Over the next 5 days, I played the role of the declining old man. I shuffled when I walked. I repeated myself at dinner. I pretended to forget Jasper's name once, and I watched Kendra's eyes light up with satisfaction. She thought it was working. She thought the pills were turning me into a vegetable. Meanwhile, I was busier than I had been in years. I met with Morris twice. I met with the county sheriff once. I installed a hidden camera in the kitchen, the kind that looks like a smoke detector. I recorded Kendra crushing pills into my evening tea on 3 separate occasions. I had her on video, grinding tablets with the back of a spoon and stirring them into the cup with a smile on her face. On the 6th day, Morris called. "We are ready," he said. "The sheriff has the warrants. The trust is sealed." The forensic accountant confirmed $47,000 in fraudulent charges in the forged mortgage application. The DA is filing charges for elder abuse, fraud, identity theft, and administering a controlled substance without consent. That last one is a Class H felony in North Carolina. When? I asked. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. The sheriff will serve the warrants at your house. I want Jasper out of the house first. Agreed. Can you get him to school early? I will take him myself. That night I tucked Jasper into bed. He was reading his volcano book. He looked up at me with those eyes, Iris's eyes, and said, "Grandpa, are you going away? Mom said you might go to a place for old people." I sat on the edge of his bed. I smoothed his hair. "Jasper, I am not going anywhere. You and me, we are a team. Remember what I told you about the bees? The queen protects the hive. That is right, and I am going to protect this hive. No matter what happens tomorrow, I need you to know that everything I do is for you. Can you trust me on that?" He nodded. "I trust you, Grandpa." I kissed his forehead. I turned off the light. I stood in the hallway for a long time, listening to his breathing slow into sleep. The next morning, I woke Jasper at 6:30. I made him scrambled eggs and drove him to school myself. I walked him to the door. I watched him disappear into the building. He turned and waved. I waved back. Then I drove home. Kendra was on the porch drinking coffee when I pulled in. Russ was still asleep. It was 8:45. "You are up early, Dad," she said. "Beautiful morning," I said. "Thought I would take Jasper to school for a change. That is sweet." She sipped her coffee. She had no idea what was 15 minutes away. I went inside. I sat in my recliner in the living room. I picked up a magazine. I did not read it. I just held it and waited. At 9 o'clock sharp, I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. 2 vehicles. I looked out the window. A sheriff's cruiser and an unmarked sedan. Morris stepped out of the sedan in a dark suit, carrying a briefcase. Deputy Harris stepped out of the cruiser with a manila envelope. Kendra saw them from the porch. Her coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. "Dwight," she called. "Who is that?" I did not answer. I opened the front door and stepped outside. Deputy Harris walked up the steps. "Ma'am, are you Kendra Kavanaugh?" "Yes." "What is this about?" He handed her the envelope. "You are being served with an arrest warrant for elder abuse, fraud, and administering a controlled substance without consent. Please turn around and place your hands behind your back." Kendra dropped her coffee. The mug shattered on the porch boards. Brown liquid spread across the wood like a stain. "This is insane," she stammered. "Dwight, tell them this is a mistake." I looked at her. I thought about the baby monitor. I thought about the pills in my tea. I thought about the nursing home in Morganton and the roommate and the TV. "It is not a mistake, Kendra." She started screaming for Russ. He came stumbling down the stairs in boxers and a t-shirt, half asleep. He saw the deputy. He saw the handcuffs. He went white. "Dad, what did you do?" "I did what I should have done a year ago. I protected my house and I protected your son. You cannot do this. I am your son, and Jasper is your son. But that did not stop you from planning to blow his inheritance on gambling debts and handbags." Russ turned to Kendra. "I told you," he hissed. "I told you he would find out. You said he was too old. You said the pills would keep him quiet." Kendra lunged at him. "Shut your mouth, Russ. Do not say another word." The deputy separated them. A second officer cuffed Russ. They were both escorted to the cruiser. Kendra was sobbing. Russ was silent, staring at the ground, a man who had just realized that the floor beneath him was gone. Morris walked up beside me. We stood on the porch together and watched them being loaded into the back seat. "You okay?" Morris asked. "No," I said, "but I will be." He put a hand on my shoulder. "The custody petition is filed. Emergency hearing is Friday. Based on the evidence, you will have temporary guardianship by end of day. And the house? Untouchable. The trust is ironclad. Jasper owns it when he turns 25. Until then, you live here, you maintain it, and nobody can take it from either of you." I watched the cruiser pull away. The blue lights faded down the gravel road. The mountains behind them were indifferent and beautiful. I went inside. The house was quiet. It was the kind of quiet that comes after a storm passes. Not empty, just clean. I walked through every room. I touched the walls. I stood in the kitchen where Iris used to dance while she cooked. I stood in Jasper's room and picked up the volcano book from his nightstand. At 3 o'clock, I drove to the school. Jasper came running out with his backpack bouncing. He climbed into the truck. "Where is Mom?" he asked. "Mom and Dad had to go away for a while," I said. I did not lie. I did not sugarcoat it. They made some bad choices and they need to deal with the consequences. But you are staying with me. This is your home. It always has been. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Can we get ice cream?" I laughed. It was the first real laugh I had produced in months. "Yeah, buddy, we can get ice cream." We stopped at the stand on Route 25. He got chocolate with sprinkles. I got vanilla. We sat on the tailgate of my truck and watched the sun drop behind the mountains. The sky turned orange, then purple, then a deep and honest blue. 3 months later, the custody was finalized. Russ and Kendra pled guilty to reduced charges, fraud and misdemeanor elder abuse, in exchange for surrendering all parental rights. They were sentenced to 18 months of probation and ordered to pay restitution they would never be able to afford. They moved to Florida. I did not ask where. I did not care. Jasper started sleeping through the night again. He joined the science club at school. He built a model volcano that actually erupted with baking soda and vinegar, and he won second place at the county fair. He taped the ribbon to the refrigerator next to a photo of Iris. I still keep bees. I still fix motorcycles. I still drink my coffee black on the porch every morning and watch the fog lift off the valley. But now there is a second pair of boots by the front door. There is a backpack hanging on the hook next to my jacket. There are volcano books on the coffee table and permission slips on the counter. People tell me I was cruel. They say a father should forgive his son no matter what. They say blood is thicker than water. Maybe they are right. But I will tell you what is thicker than blood. The soil in this land that my grandfather broke with his own hands, the walls that my wife filled with laughter, and the promise I made to a dying woman that I would protect what mattered. I did not lose a son. I lost an illusion, and in its place I gained something real. A second chance to raise a boy who still believes that grandpas have huge muscles and can fight sea monsters. I intend to keep that belief alive as long as I can. Last Tuesday, Jasper and I were sitting on the dock at the pond behind the house. He had his fishing line in the water. The afternoon was warm, and the cicadas were loud. He turned to me and said, "Grandpa, when I grow up, I want to be just like you." I put my arm around him. "No," I said. "Be better." He smiled. The bobber dipped. He yanked the rod and pulled up a bluegill the size of his hand. He held it up, dripping and shining in the sunlight, and he laughed with his whole body. It was Iris's laugh. It filled the valley and echoed off the mountains and settled into my chest like a heartbeat. I let it stay there. I had earned it.